स्पॉटलाइट में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हूं आपकी होस्ट अमीता। Join me weekly as I talk to inspiring guests who will share their success stories. Today we'll be talking to a visionary who has been successful in bringing India and Canada closer together. He wears multiple hats, including being the co-founder of Gravitas Financial Inc. and the president of New India Investment Corp. It's my pleasure to welcome to our show Mr. Vikas Ranjan. Mr. Ranjan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for inviting me, Amitha.
So we want to find out about your vision, and we want to inspire our viewers to start investing in India. लेकिन उससे पहले जानना चाहेंगे कुछ आपके बारे में. Tell us a little bit about your growing up.
Sure, my pleasure. So I came from India originally. Grew up in a state called Bihar, which is in the northern eastern part of India. And after my 12th grade, moved to Delhi to do my undergraduations in economics, and then moved to Mumbai to do my master's in management studies, and worked in Mumbai for about 3 years in financial services primarily, starting with National Stock Exchange, which at that time was upcoming exchange, but now it's #1 stock exchange in India. Then moved into a bank handling their proprietary equity trading. And somehow I was very curious about things which were happening outside of India as well. And this is going back about 17, 18 years. And I had this desire to, explore and have a more international exposure. So decided to do an MBA. Joined McGill in Montreal, and that's a long story. But came here to do my MBA, completed, and then have stayed over as many immigrants do in this great country.
It's a long but quite motivating story because you didn't stop. Like sometimes we start with one vision and just stop. Okay, I've got a degree, now we stop there. But you saw that there was something more to it. You wanted to take India to international levels. So that's inspired you, kept up the passion, and we are lucky that you're here today. So tell us, as you're working towards this vision to get people to invest more in India, what were your first startup projects? I understand that first of all, you had brought Ubika Research into existence. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, happy to. So a little bit backing, going back to my MBA days, Canada actually incidentally happened not by design, but by chance to some extent. When I took my GMAT and had my score for MBA education, Canada, I didn't know much about Canada. It was all US, my focus, because US is more well known in India.
True.
So I did get admissions in MBA schools in the US, but I was advised that keep something in your back pocket just in case, and that is exactly what happened. US was so expensive for somebody coming from India 17, 18 years ago. You can imagine if you are a middle class family member, it's not that easy. So McGill was the only university I knew and applied to. And fortunately, not only I got admission, but also some scholarships. So I came here, joined McGill, and what a fabulous choice. It was such a great school from international perspective. In our class, we had students from 56 countries.
Wow.
And this is the first time I came out of India. First time I went abroad. So for me to sort of soak up that culture and diversity and knowledge, and being in the thick of so many different types of people was incredible. So anyway, after completing my MBA, I moved to Toronto to join a company in technology space, which did not last very long. That company, we are talking about year 2000, when tech bubble was just bursting.
Oh yes, okay, I remember, yes.
So I left that after about a year. This is 2001, 2002 timeframe, and then joined the Bank of Montreal in one of the internal consulting units. And after four and a half years, decided to venture out on my own, and that is when I co-founded Ubika Research with my best friend, Vishi Karamadam, and co-founder, and the journey began in late 2007. And then we have been building brick by brick since then.
And it has taken on new levels with, I believe, with small power cap?
Small cap power, yes.
Small cap power.
Yes.
Pardon me, yes.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So the Ubika Research, when we started that company, our vision was that lots of small public companies listed on Canadian stock exchanges, they don't get the kind of, attention they deserve because of they're smaller in size and bigger investment banks, they don't see the profitability in promoting those companies in terms of trading and investment banking, so they get neglected. So we decided to launch a platform which will bring those companies in front of investors in a very analytical way through research and get them noticed. And that is how the platform started. But later on, we realized that distribution of that research is very important as well. And we felt that a digital online platform is way to go. And that is when we launched the Small Cap Power, which is an investment portal focused on small cap investing. And it has grown organically in the last 4 or 5 years. And now it has become one of the marquee platforms for investors to come and get information on small, mid-cap companies from investment perspective.
Amazing. Yeah. I love it. A visionary born in Bihar who had the vision of bringing India onto the international levels, didn't even realize, but lucky for us, has been now taking Canada to international levels and putting Canada on the map. And now we're going to find out more about how that's both coming together, where India and Canada are coming together on the same level. But before that, it's time for a short break. Spotlight में फिर से आपका स्वागत है. We are talking to Mr. Vikas Ranjan. So it's great to hear your inspirational story and how you came with the vision to bring India and the world together and how Canada is getting the benefits of that. So starting with Ubika Research, going on to the online...
Small Cap Power,
yeah, Small Cap Power. Now tell us a little bit more. You didn't stop there again. I love it. You keep going. There's no status quo for you. Tell us how then Gravitas Financial came into place.
Sure. So as we started to build the company, Ubika Research, Small Cap Power, it's a Bay Street firm. And you might know Bay Street, as it is called, financial district in Toronto. Just the way we have Wall Street and we have Dalal Street in Mumbai, we have Bay Street in Toronto. It's not easy to be honest, for people to break through, and that too when you are starting your own company, and that too when you are a new Canadian. When we started 2007, it was only 4 or 5 years after we had graduated from our MBAs. But it was fun to build that slowly, and we came into contact with some very powerful and well-connected people on Bay Street. And we got encouraged by some of them, and there was an opportunity to think much bigger in terms of our vision. We got support from other people, and we co-founded Gravitas Financial, very prominent securities lawyer, David Carbonero. He is our senior partner. He is like a mentor and supporter, and he really encouraged us to think bigger, and we banded together to create Gravitas Financial in year 2013. So we used Ubika Research as a platform to onboard to a much bigger platform. And that is how Gravitas was created, with a mandate to build a diversified financial services company.
Amazing. Yeah. I hear it in whatever you're doing. There's that vision still for you to get to, but you're doing it one step at a time, whether it be on your own terms with your friend, then collaborating with people on Bay Street, and then now moving on to let's actually get to your vision. So tell us a little bit more about you then going on to having a vision for an investment platform where Canadians can invest in India. So tell us a little bit more about that.
We'd love to. So just to sort of give you a little bit of the vision of Gravitas Financial itself, what we are trying to do is create a very diversified financial services platform. And for example, we own a number of licenses which enables those platforms to raise capital from different types of investors and offer them different types of investment products. We also are very international in our scope and our ambition. So, for example, we have investments, interest, and networks in countries like India, China, the Middle East, and of course, US. So one of the things which we realized was that India is growing very fast. And of course, I came from India. Both me and my co-founder, Vishi, we came from India. And a couple of years ago, after Mr. Modi was elected as Prime Minister, there was a totally new vibe about India as a destination for investments, but also growth. It's a massive country of 1.2 billion people, but more important, it's a very young country. And if you look at economic history, the single biggest factor which explains the growth in any country's GDP is demographic. And India is set to reap those demographic dividends for next 20, 30, 40 years. So that is what was happening, and we said that, how do we help? How do we create a platform which lets Canadian investors access that fascinating and fast-growing investment destination? So we created a platform called New India Investment Corp, which is currently a subsidiary of Gravitas Financial, owned by Gravitas Financial. But now we have big plans for that, and we are trying to launch it for a wider Canadian audience.
Amazing. So it's great to know how much of a growth India is having in the last little while. I was wondering, is there any sectors, if you're saying India is relatively young, are there any particular sectors that are better than others to invest in?
Very good question. There are always some sectors which are better than others. So for example, right now, I would say that India is at a place where all the sectors are good.
Wow.
Okay. Which is sort of a bold statement to make, but the reason I say that is that India, just like China, probably India is 10, 15 years behind China in terms of growth. And if you look at what happened in China, hundreds of millions of people came out of poverty and became middle class. Same thing is happening in India as well. So as you have hundreds of millions of people, becoming middle class, they need everything. And that leads to growth in pretty much everything. Whether it's education or for financial services, or food processing, agriculture related, pharma, you name it. Everything is booming right now. But if I have to pick certain sectors, I would say that India is very knowledge rich. India is, unlike lots of other countries which were manufacturing based, India is knowledge economy based. Indians are very good in math, science, and if you see, being a software hub, it has created a knowledge cluster around these industries. So of course, information technology is a very critical and very fascinating sector to look at, but financial services is also very important because many Indians still do not have the kind of banking access or access to financial products which we take it for granted in a country like Canada. I don't know if you know, but less than 3% of Indians have access to debit card or credit card.
Wow.
So it's like 95% of the economy runs on cash.
Wow.
So just imagine the changes which will happen in next 5-10 years. So think about fintech, financial technology. Think about companies which are in space like payments, for example. They will do very well. And of course, education-related industries, learning is big in India, and agriculture-based industries are also very, very important. And infrastructure, don't forget that. India needs everything. roads, bridges, you name it, right?
That's true.
So again, I want to go back and say that everything is booming, kind of.
Yeah, but I like this inside scoop, and
Right.
that's why I can already see why I need to go to New India Investment Corp. But tell the viewers what is the advantage of over other investing services we came to you?
Sure. So look, when you are a Canadian investor and you're looking at India as a destination, it's hard to figure out how do you go and invest in Indian opportunities, right? Right now, the alternatives for a Canadian investor to invest in Indian opportunities are very limited. There are some mutual funds which focus on selecting companies from India, and they invest in those. So you can invest in those mutual funds. There are what they call exchange-traded funds. They also have similar approach. They select some big blue-chip companies to invest into. But if you peel through the layers, you will find that most of their focus is the top 30, 40 blue-chip companies, index-based companies. But they only represent a very small segment of Indian economy. The real growth, in our opinion, in our humble opinion, is going to come from small and mid-sized enterprises. And that is hard to access. How do you invest in those companies? How do you invest in the private securities of those companies? So what we are trying to do is to create a platform which will be able to access those type of opportunities, and we will structure that platform in such a way that Canadian investors can invest in securities here in Canada, which we manage, and we find those opportunities, and we curate them, and we bring those investment opportunities. So we are responsible for making those things happen. So that's the big differentiation in my view.
So that is the advantage, and I know you and your team have been successful in getting that goal going. We're going to find out about that. लेकिन उससे पहले लेते एक छोटा सा break. Welcome back to Spotlight. We are talking to the president of New India Investment Corp, Mr. Vikas Ranjan. So we heard why you are advantageous over other other investment opportunities or companies. But now tell us, what is different about you and your team? Like, everybody can tell us this is what your goals are, but what makes you and your team different, and what are your advantages?
Absolutely. So first of all, I would like to say to the viewers that we are in the process of launching that platform. Still, it's a private company within Gravitas, and we did make some investments. Actually, we invested in a payments company in India, very promising company called Innovative Payment Solution. We co-invested with Catamaran Funds, which is the family office of a legendary tech billionaire, Mr. Narayana Murthy. So that was a great opportunity. And now we are looking to launch it for a wider audience. So in the next couple of months, I'm hoping that this platform will be available for Canadian investors to invest into. In terms of what we bring to the table, our ability to strike relationships, our ability to partner. For example, right now we are talking to a very prominent private equity fund in India, and most likely we will partner with them so that we can get the opportunities which they are seeing on the ground. It's very important to be knowledgeable about what is happening there. We are also partnering with other institutions in India, including Bombay Stock Exchange, which I have come to know quite a bit, and other investment banks and merchant banks, and that is how we source our opportunities. And analytically, we are very strong. We have a team which understands and can analyze those opportunities. And most important, I am from India. Although I have been living here for 17, 18 years, but India is always in my heart, and we have sort of, an understanding of what is happening in India. So we bring those expertise and skill sets and sort of combine that with our partnerships in India to bring opportunities, which differentiates us from other types of investment classes and investment assets available.
Well said. Yeah, and it's so true. You come from the roots. You have experienced, what it's like on both sides of the coin, and then you're making it a point to connect further, not just stay on this end and make some predictions, but you're actually going down there, making the connections in person. So there you go. That's what's different about the team at New India Investment Corp. So it's great. Where do you see your vision going from here, and why do you think it will make the Canada-India business ties better?
Very good question. So I believe that Canada and India are natural allies. Think about it. We are Commonwealth countries. We are bound together with a common language, English. Huge Indo-Canadian diaspora in Canada, more than 1 million people. We have lots of similarities. Now, having stronger ties, of course, helps a lot. And government in both countries are trying to do that, more and more so. But there has always been, I think, in my opinion, sort of a vacuum, and it's improving. So by having a role in creating an investment vehicle which finds capital from Canada, which is a capital-rich country, and provide that through a platform to Indian opportunities, companies which are hungry for capital. I think that's helpful. It's the best of both worlds. Canadian investors get high growth and high returns, and Indian companies get that much needed capital. So in a very small way, if we can contribute in helping India grow and helping Canadian investors do better with their returns, I think that is something we would like to achieve, and hopefully we build from there.
Awesome. I love it. Passionate, well-educated, well-informed, bringing us together, and we know where we have to come to. You're so passionate, but I need to digress for a little bit and figure out you're doing so much to bring India, Canada closer together, and we are lucky. But I need to know, as a person, do you take a break for yourself?
I try to. As a family man, I have 2 small kids. Thanks to my lovely wife, I can do what I do, in terms of being very busy with my work. But I try to take some time off as and when I can. I love to watch movies, some Bollywood movies as well. And play some sports if I can find some time, golf or tennis I used to play. But it's hard to find time, to be honest, for leisure, but we try to find some time.
That's awesome, like a well-rounded person and who's setting an example for the community. So we have got a lot of words of advice in terms of investment, lots of inspiration from you. But if I could ask you if you had any final words of advice for our viewers, that would be great.
Well, I would say that hard work pays off. It does take time. Rome was never built in a day, and we believe that. I believe personally that if you follow your goals, and if you work hard, and if you keep it doing, then it happens. So for new Canadians, which I am a new Canadian, I am an immigrant. I would like to say that. Canada is a land of opportunities, and it is really, you can have your Canadian dreams, and if you work hard, it may be a struggle in the beginning, but never give up hope. Reach out, reach out. That is important. Network and try to make sure that you are always at it, and it does happen. So it's a wonderful country we live in, and we are fortunate that we are here, and we should do whatever it takes to be successful in whatever we are doing. Passion is critical. If we are enjoying what we are doing, that is the key.
Awesome. Well, we love the passion, from Ubika Research to Small Cap Power to Gravitas Financial Inc. to New India Investment Corp, and much more is in the books for both India and Canada to come together. Thanks to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amitha.
Thank you so much for talking.
Me.
Yeah. Thank
you
you
so much.
and inspiring us. Thank you.
Thank you.
तो ये थे मिस्टर विकास रंजन, जिन्होंने हमें एहसास दिलाया है कि इंडिया एंड कनाडा is coming closer together thanks to visionaries like him. So it's the time to invest now. Well, that's a wrap for this week's show. Thank you for watching us. Continue to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and write to me at spotlight@ethnicchannels.com. Thank you to Mr. Dinesh Ranse for sponsoring my wardrobe. Until next week, this is Amithas signing off, encouraging you to take the opportunity to invest in India.